Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Unleash Your Potential. I am Elizabeth Suarez, your host and a leadership and negotiation strategist who helps organizations develop a stronger workforce while empowering their staff with the tactics and strategies to better manage challenges and opportunities. I invite you to visit my YouTube channel, Speaker Elizabeth Suarez. While there, please subscribe so you can continue watching videos like this one, interviews like this one, as well as videos that provide strategies and tactics on how to reinvent your 2020. Today, I am excited that I am joined by Jasmyne Kettwick. She is a speaker and coach on mental health, and she's the executive director of Relate Family Therapy. Welcome, Jasmyne, and thank you for being here.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited about our conversation. So I know when you and I were speaking before, I had mentioned to you that due to COVID-19, I have reoriented my coaching practice to actually guiding my clients to remain focused, balanced, and relevant during this crisis and beyond. So therefore, today's interview, I want to focus on that important effort. When you and I were speaking, I realized mental health plays a key role in basically better managing our time and our energy, regardless of what we are faced with. So as a family therapist, Jasmyne, I know you've been helping families better manage the stress and uncertainty we're all experiencing right now. So I have a couple questions for you, and I wanted you to share your knowledge and your understanding for all of our audience. So what are you hearing from some of your clients, and what are you helping them deal with the challenges brought by this pandemic these days?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things that's coming up from them is just the fear of the unknown. You know, there are so many things that come along with that. Another piece of that is the illness itself. People have family members and friends that are dealing with the illness, have been on ventilators, have been hospitalized, have maybe even died from this. And so the seriousness of this really hits home for them because we all have someone in our lives, either directly or peripherally, that has been affected by COVID-19. So just the stress of keeping your family safe is one of the first pieces. The unknown around whether or not we should be quarantining or getting out, and just the idea that we don't even know which one is correct or right and safest for our family is a huge burden for people. They don't know what to do now and what really is safe. Then they have some of the pieces where they're starting to plan or have been planning for their family to just keep a sense of normalcy, which takes a huge amount of over planning to be in some of the similar positions that you were before, just because you have to keep the day-to-day piece moving. While other people might not be planning at all, and they might be really isolating and deciding that they just don't want to be going out at all to see people or be around people. And they feel safest because they're overwhelmed just sitting at home and watching Netflix and burying themselves in just their own private time, which can also be difficult because that can lead to loneliness and just feeling sad.
And I have seen that a lot, experienced a lot of that by even getting on my social media channels. I don't know if you've seen that, Jasmyne, but I've gotten to the point that I can tell you last night I was on Facebook looking at some stuff. And after a few minutes, I said, you know what, I have to get off. And I have to get off because what you were saying, the aspect of the unknown, the fear about, okay, like here, we are reopening little by little, but the people being mad that you're wearing a mask or you're not wearing a mask and then criticizing your behavior. And I am like just sitting there doing, geez, I just wanted to see pictures of dogs. I mean, right. So instead I Googled dogs, and videos of dogs. But, all kidding aside, I remember before you and I started this conversation, you had mentioned to me this concept of the invisible load. And as a mother, I had never heard that terminology before. And you shared with me how we are, as parents, used to carrying this invisible load, but now it's even harder. So can you first share with the audience, what do you refer to as an invisible load? And also, can you share how can parents better manage it during this quarantine time?
Yeah, so the invisible load is the mental strain that we all have that doesn't go named. So it's an unnamed piece that it's a burden that we have that people don't tend to notice. So it's in typical times, it's things like planning birthday parties and
Oh,
making sure you have groceries and
mhm.
staying connected to your parents and making sure that your kids have their homework done and the gifts for their teachers and meals planned. So it's just the things that you just kind of do throughout the day that seem to sort of fall into place that people don't notice that you really are taking on.
Okay.
Right now, there's been such an increase in the invisible load, particularly for parents, because they're not getting any sort of a break.
Mhm.
So usually you have some amount of space between the time that you wake up and the time you go to bed where you're not engaging and taking care of and planning for your children. But now you have them in the home 24/7 and they're not participating in sports and activities. They aren't in school. You're actually a teacher a lot of the time during the day, and there's not really that time to just have grandparents come over or a babysitter there. And so there's a lot of strain on parents because they feel like they really don't get a break. Another piece is that we are constantly adapting to new information that's coming up.
Mhm.
So we have to be really aware of how can we keep our families safe. Making sure that you're watching the news but not watching it too much, and you're telling your children something but you don't want to scare them or you don't want to tell them too much. So there's a real balance in the information that's coming through. Another really big mental strain is regulating ourselves.
Oh,
We're scared.
mhm.
We're angry. I've heard many, many times from clients, I don't like COVID. COVID it has this personality, right? It's like something that they're taking on and they're blaming for all these times and issues that are coming up from them. But in regulating ourselves, we have to be really aware because we're also doing some of the things for our kids and our families, and we don't want them to be matching our fear or our strain or that feeling of uncomfortableness. And we're just more isolated than we've been in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah.
We just don't have the people around us, not only to support us, but just to bounce ideas off of and to
Mhm.
talk to and feel like we're connecting with.
You bring up a great point, that point of isolation. And yeah, that invisible load, thank you for defining it. We all live it. And I think it has gotten even larger now because all of a sudden, like
Right.
you mentioned, there's no time where somebody else can be doing something with our child. But
Hmm.
that sense of isolation, even though my child is 19 years old, she's back from college, and a lot of my friends that have younger ones, they say, well, Elizabeth, you have it so easy. You don't have to worry. She does everything. I'm actually extremely concerned about her happiness and her feeling that she feels isolated. And she has used that
Right.
term with me. Mommy, I feel isolated because,
Yeah.
she's living through this college life where isolation is not part of the equation when you're
Yeah.
living on campus on college. And as a mother, I'm fearful. I'm like, okay, so what can I do to help her? And it's interesting, Jasmine, that I'm now realizing that we're going to have even more issues as different states are starting to reopen, with the fact that some parents, now that they were always said, oh, you can stay at home, now it's like, oh, you know what? We are going into a hybrid mode first. So 50% of your
Right.
time, you're going to come to work over here, but then
Mhm.
you work the other 50% at home. And then it's like, okay, my childcare, my daycare is not open. My teenager, I'm a little bit concerned that maybe she's not focusing on getting the semester done from high school and from college. And now all of a sudden, I have to walk away for maybe half of the time because, oh, we're
Right.
reopening, but not fully reopening. So what are you advising your families that are going through this? I mean, what should we look at doing with this?
Yeah, that's a really great point because so many people are also just worried about their roles at work,
Hmm.
maintaining their business, maintaining their own employment. And so they want to make sure that they remain valuable in the workplace so they keep their job or they keep their business afloat. But at the same time, they have their children at home and they can sense that this is wearing on them.
Yes.
A lot of schools will be ending their actual schoolwork soon. And for families, that would typically mean, summer vacations and
Hmm.
camps and the availability of different activities for them. And a lot of that is still very up in the air, summer baseball and sports for
Yeah.
kids, even just having that organization of going to the pool a few days a week.
Hmm.
Those things are out the window right now. And families are feeling the strain of that. And they want to remain valuable at work. And like you said, now they've been doing everything at home. Some people really miss being in the office. They want to be there, but they just don't know what they're going to do with their children because they don't have childcare for them, let alone, helping with their mental health, just some physical presence.
Yeah.
And grandparents and other family members aren't maybe ready to take on those roles yet because they feel like they might not be safe if they don't quarantine. So unfortunately, it's a matter of being creative with your solutions and really letting people know, this is where I'm at right now.
Hmm.
I might need to continue to do the Zoom meetings and work from home. And I recognize for you, you want me to come in the office half the time, but I might not be able to do that in the normal 8 to 5 setting I was before. Maybe I can come in after my spouse comes home from work, or maybe there's some way that you can have a day or two where that's available, but it might not be to the extent that they're looking for. But being creative, unfortunately, for some people is really difficult, but it is the best way just overall. And being transparent to some
Yeah.
degree because you are valuable, and if somebody is wanting you to come back to work, that means they're wanting you to work. So letting them know that, I want to do that too, but we might need to be a little creative right now.
That's a good point. I'm glad that you bring up that sense of you have to be creative, but you also have to communicate that because many
Right.
times we may be afraid of like, okay, we just have to do it because I don't want to lose my job. So another aspect with this COVID-19 is the concept that I know I'm feeling, and I know most of all my friends are feeling it, that sense of normalcy. I don't have it anymore. I don't feel that when the weekend comes, like now when Friday rolls around, I'm like, I'm not that excited. I mean, I'm not going to lie
Right.
to you. I'm like, it's another day. I can't even remember the day of the week I'm in.
Yeah.
So, can you give us maybe one or two tips on how we can keep that sense of normalcy, whatever normal is, because we really
Mhm.
don't know what normal is going to
Yeah.
be for ourselves, for our children, and for each other? Do you have any tips?
Mhm.
Because right now I'm in desperate need for at least one of them.
Well, I think that what I've noticed for people when they feel that they've had a lot of trauma and unknowns anyway,
Hmm.
one of the biggest things they can do is create a cornerstone piece. So
Oh, okay.
having a way to have a certain routine that becomes the cornerstone of your day.
Oh,
So
okay.
if it's a meal together, if it's a family walk, if it's just a certain time that your family comes together, you are providing them with the feedback that you can transition into this certain time where we have a cornerstone of our days, right? So 4 o'clock we get together and play Uno, or 6 o'clock we eat dinner. And I
Okay.
know it sounds really basic and kind of tried to say we'll eat a meal together, but families are still sort of dissipating and saying kind of their day is fluid, right? They're just grazing on food. They're just scheduling Zoom calls whenever it fits into their day. And instead, having something that anchors your day is a really good way to pull in that piece of normalcy. This is when I do such and such, right? And
Okay.
that's just a good thing for kids to have in general, and parents to know every day at this certain time, I can't schedule something because I want to make sure that I'm doing something with my kids or my family at that time.
I like that idea actually. And it's something that we have some sense of normalcy here in our household, but we haven't put in a time frame. in terms of when we eat. And the other one is two things we do. When we eat at least one meal together a day.
Uh-huh.
And the other one is we walk the dogs or take them outside.
Yep.
If the weather's not that great, take them outside. And we do it, the three of us together. Is the funniest thing. But we do it at different times. But you know what? I am going to take that cornerstone idea of yours and saying, okay, at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and say that's what we're going to do. So before we go, I have one more question concerning this. And it comes back to the concept of where we started with energy and our time, how to better manage it. I mean, so I'm going to use the cornerstone. I'm going to be very diligent about not feeling that isolation and figure out what I can do concerning the isolation and helping my other family members with that. But what else could I do in order to have that energy when I need to be able to give it to other members of my family, or even to my coworkers that I have to Zoom with, and all of a sudden I don't feel like Zooming with them. So how can I give that energy? Give me some little thing I can do so I can say, okay, let's do it.
Right. You know, back in the day when people first received technology, it was in the form of a BlackBerry, right? So businesses all gave people a BlackBerry, and they thought that this was going to be this great way to keep everyone connected, and that people were going to have their BlackBerry, and that, oh, well, you can still work when you're not at work. And what they really found was the BlackBerry movement decreased productivity because people were always available, and they didn't set up a strong enough boundary with their work-home balance. And we're doing that in a huge way right now, right? Because people that are fearful of losing their jobs, people that understand that we have Zoom meetings available, and you have your phone, and you have a tablet, and you have a computer, and people, it's right in your home. You just take it, you use it, you write a quick email, you go on, you do a Zoom meeting, you get off. Setting up some real limits around boundaries and truly getting the technology away from you. I mean, like in a different floor of your house for a little bit, and recognizing that you need some time where you're not connecting and revving your wheel around everything, right? That energy is there for a reason. When you come back to something, when you feel refreshed and renewed and ready to go, when you've set up that time to actually be present mentally for work. And we've just eliminated that in this time in so many ways, you know, in all sorts of roles. But if we can pull it back around the technology piece and the connecting in that work environment, we will be excited again to connect with people that we're working with or that we have meetings with, because we haven't done it for a couple of hours.
Oh, you know what? I like that. And I am going to take that advice definitely. Actually, another thing that I'm trying to do is read more in order to get off the technology. I may not be doing the technology for work. But I'm still on the technology, like what I mentioned, the Facebook thing, like it irritates me. A book is not going to irritate me, especially if I pick the book I want. So that's a good. And using technology for good, right? So if you're getting on a Facebook or that sort of thing, you can do like view from my window, or you know, Colorado photography, or some of these places where you can look at pictures and kind of like get a renewed sense of energy from just looking at something different, you know, a different type of thing. I know. Wow. Look, Jasmine, I could be talking to you forever. Actually, maybe you should Zoom with me every day so you can give me the energy I need. So this has been extremely, extremely helpful. So thank you for your insights and valuable advice. I also want to thank all of you who are watching this, and I encourage you to get involved in this conversation. Go ahead and comment, how are you managing your energy since COVID-19 started? I would love to see your comments below, and I would like to engage in that conversation. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you, Jasmine. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.